Don't tell the motivational speakers that I told you this, but feeling unmotivated is not your biggest problem. If you've been finding that you just are not getting the things done that you actually really care about and want to do, like maybe you need to update your CV, or you want to apply for this job that you saw, or there's a pitch that you want to send out to somebody, but you just haven't been able to get it done. And then you start beating yourself up and calling yourself names, like calling yourself unmotivated or undisciplined, or even worse, lazy. Then this video is for you, because I'm going to be breaking down exactly what's going on when we're feeling like this and how you can get things done when you are feeling like you just cannot be bothered at all. Hey, I'm Kieran, your Liswa, and if you're new here, then your alignment era just found its guide. I help people who are outgrowing old definitions of success clarify, unblock, and create careers that actually feel like them. So if you're ready to stop settling and start making some intentional moves, then you're in the right place. I was in a session with a client recently, and we were talking about all the things that she had said that she'd really wanted to do, but just hadn't been able to do them, like applying for a job. And she's explaining, and eventually she says, "I'm just lazy, I guess." What? So I'm like, okay, tell me more about this laziness. And she says, well, I just keep saying that I'm going to do it. And when I eventually carve out the time, I just lay down on my bed and I'm just exhausted. Turns out that she's been spending most of her time helping her sister look after her newborn nieces. And by the time she has any time for herself, she's during AF. And the reason why I'm sharing this story is because, to be honest, this comes up all the time with clients, with friends and family, and even with me. You want to do the thing, you know exactly what your next step is and what it is that you need to do, and still you just cannot bring yourself to do it. And then comes the spiral where you're beating yourself up, the guilt and the shame, and you're just feeling like, why can't I do it? I'm not good enough. I'm just lazy. I'm just a terrible person. I don't even deserve it. I don't want it badly enough, without actually acknowledging what's going on underneath. So let's talk about what's really happening and how we can make taking action feel lighter, even when our energy is feeling really low. Because here's the thing, when you're feeling stuck like that, it's not because you don't care enough. It's not because you're not disciplined enough or motivated enough. And it's not because you don't want it badly enough. The real issue is that you're mentally and emotionally drained. And when you're feeling like this, even the things that you want to do, that you know are going to make you feel better, can just feel so hard to start. And not because you don't have the time, but because you just don't have the energy. One of my other clients put this so perfectly. She said, it's not that I don't have the time, it's just that my job right now is so draining that even trying to add something that I know is going to make me feel better just feels like extra work. And that's the reality for so many people, that trying to just get through your day-to-day life and navigating the stress of that, which maybe for you, it is also your current job feels so overwhelming, or maybe like my other client, it's family stuff, or maybe it's health stuff, whatever it is for you. Sometimes in your life, you just feel like the today of your life feels just so overwhelming that trying to even think about or have the energy to do the things that you want to towards your future can just feel like it can just feel like it's impossible, which is where things get tricky, because starting anything, let alone making a decision or following through on something, requires bandwidth. Which is why my very first invitation to you is to give yourself some grace, because what you are trying to do is hard. But at the same time, if something's going to change in your life, if there's something that you're trying to create and change in your life, then something's got to change. So the question then becomes, how do I carve out that energy that's going to help me to move forward in my life? The first thing to know is that you don't need any more motivation. And you definitely don't need to force any more discipline. And you may be surprised to hear that, but here's the thing that the motivational speakers and gurus don't tell you. Motivation is actually inherently unreliable. It is not a consistent fuel source. The fact that it's inconsistent is a feature, not a bug. And that's because how motivated you feel at any given time is actually influenced by such a wide range of factors, like your mood, your energy levels, how well you slept last night, how much stress you're under, and even who you've been around that day and the people that you're interacting with. It's influenced by so many different kinds of things, and most of those things are outside of your control. So the fact that motivation comes and goes is actually a part of the design. But where the problem is that because we think we should be aiming for a constant state of motivation, it's so easy to get discouraged when we feel like we don't have that. And then we feel like something's wrong with us. Like, why can't I stay motivated? That's something people ask all the time. Why can't I just stay motivated? Or how can I just stay motivated? The truth is that you can't, because motivation is actually more like your flaky friend. When she shows up, we love that for us. But when she cancels at the last minute, you know not to be surprised. And either way, you still have to keep it moving. And not with motivation's intensely type A sidekick either, Discipline. You know her. Because when you're already drained AF, the last thing that you want to do or even feel capable of doing is white knuckling it. So what do we do? Because motivation is unreliable and discipline is out of reach. So what are we left with? So when you're feeling like this, part of the reason why it feels so hard to take action is because the thing that you're trying to do feels so big in your head and therefore is heaving with cognitive load. Because it's not just about the task itself, it's everything else that's included. So the decisions you have to make, the process involved, all of the different little steps, the pressure that you're feeling, the expectations of the outcome. There's so much that's packaged around this seemingly simple task. All of that adds up to a lot of cognitive load at a point in time when your brain is already tired. That's just a lot to carry. So instead of beating yourself up for not being able to magically summon enough energy to be able to push through, what if we flipped it around? What if the goal wasn't to force your way through the resistance, but instead to reduce the cognitive load required in order to get started? In other words, let's make it smaller, let's make it lighter, let's make it easier on your brain so that we can work with your energy instead of against it. So at this point, you might be asking, so how do I reduce cognitive load? Tell me. Well, we do that by making it easier to get started and harder to get off track. And here are 2 ways that you can think about how to do that. Number 1 is removing friction from the things that you want to do. So remember those things I talked about that are sometimes packaged all around the task that make it harder and add to the cognitive load. Those things are part of what creates the friction that prevents you from getting it done. So when we are thinking about removing friction, we want to remove some of those things that are attached to it to make it feel easier. So maybe it's that the task itself isn't that hard, but the way it's set up makes it so much harder than it needs to be. So let me give you some examples. One of my clients was trying to spend a few hours every day trying to apply for jobs. So like looking at jobs and applying for jobs. But she was finding that doing this at home, she kept getting interrupted by her family. And then by the end of the day, it felt like she was making no progress on any of her applications. So she decided that she was going to, for those few hours a day, she was going to leave the house and she was going to go to work from a cafe and do her applications from there. And suddenly the applications were going out because she had removed that friction of being distracted and then having to refocus. I also tried this out recently by joining a weightlifting club because trying to figure out how to lift heavy enough to start getting BBL allegations was taking too much mental effort. Trying to figure out, okay, which moves should I do? How many reps? Like all of that. It was just too many decisions. I just needed someone to tell me what to do that was going to be effective. So joining the weightlifting club means I don't have to decide what I'm going to do. I just turn up. All of that mental work is done for me and I just lift and I'll keep you posted on the BBL allegations. BBL loading. BBL loading. So if there's something that you want to do, but it's always just feeling really difficult to get started, then ask yourself, what's getting in the way and what could I shift that would make this easier? Number 2, add friction to the things that tend to pull you off track. This works in the opposite direction. So instead of trying to remove friction, we are trying to add friction to the things that we don't want to do that tend to prevent us from getting the things done that we want to. For example, I had another client who had a bad habit of saying yes to everything at work, getting overextended and burning out. And so she came up with a rule that she would never commit to a new work project on the spot. Now, when she's in meetings, before she commits to anything, she says, let me just confirm what I have capacity for and I'll get back to you. And so that little bit of space is her adding the friction to allow her to make an intentional decision and not just a reactive one. So when you think about the things that you're struggling to get done, ask yourself, what is getting in the way that I could potentially remove? And how can I make it a little bit harder to fall into my default habits? These shifts might sound small, but when you apply them systematically, what they do is tilt the scales in favor of the actions that you want to take by making them easier to get started and harder to avoid. Even when your motivation and your discipline and your willpower are running really low and you're just feeling really tapped out energy-wise. So not too much on my goal with the lazy talk, okay? Because if this is how you've been feeling, then you are tired and you are probably juggling a gazillion things, and yet you're still trying to make progress on the things that really matter to you. That does not sound lazy at all. Sounds pretty legendary to me. If this video resonated with you, then here's what to do next. Hit subscribe if you would like support building a career that actually fits you. And then let me know in the comments what came up for you. What's one small shift that you can make to remove friction from something that you really want to get done? And what's one small thing that you can do to add friction to some of the things that trip you up along the way? I'd love to hear what landed for you. And if you were trying to figure out what's next for your career, then check out the link in my description for my free quiz that's going to help you clarify what is your next aligned move to building something that actually fits you. So just remember, wherever you are right now, you are not lazy. You're trying, and that's what counts. So keep going, you're doing the things, and I'll see you in the next one.